you will eventually get comfortable enough to start putting yourself into the mix on deals and say, hey, look, I'm ready to start analyzing properties, or I'm ready to start doing more with my free time, because I want to change my family's outcome. I want to change our future. I don't want to be stuck in the job that I'm in right now for the next 25 years and then hope that my 401k doesn't become a 201k after the government screws it up. So, just take action. Please take action.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. It's I think the second time we've had a mayor on the podcast. He's not an active mayor, but we got Perry Keenan. He is the Flippin Mayor, and he's got about 18 years of experience investing in real estate, buying holds, flipping houses. So he's got a really cool story. I'm excited to dive into it today, and I know you guys are going to get a lot of value from it. So welcome, Perry. Thank you for joining.
Dude, my pleasure. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. It's unfortunate my partner Matt isn't able to be here to interview as well, because he loves politics.
Nice.
He has wanted to go into politics, be on city council, be a mayor. Who knows where he wants to go, but I'll have to fill him in at the end of this one. But if you don't mind, I'd love to dive into your background and just learn a lot about kind of where you came from, how you grew up, and kind of what brought you into the place where you're at today, if you can talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Perry Keenan. I'm a recovering politician, as the joke goes. Happily retired former mayor for the town of Pleasant View, Tennessee, which is right outside of Nashville. Spent about 4 years on city council and 8 years as mayor. And after that, 2020, I felt like it was time to just take a break and step back and have a little bit of a breather for a minute, so I can focus on our real estate and the things that we're doing. And kind of got started in 2004 with real estate and politics, really close to about the same time together, and have worked both diligently for the last 18, 19 years.
Okay, where'd you grow up at?
So grew up over in Ashland City, Tennessee. It's a bedroom community to Nashville. It's about 35, 40 minutes right outside of Nashville. Great area. It's beautiful here. Of course, you guys, y'all are in Texas. We share a lot of the same similarities. Everybody says y'all. Southern hospitality is a real and tangible thing you can actually hold and touch in your hand. Man, it's awesome living here. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. And how'd you grow up? I mean, were your parents politicians, or were they a part of government? Like what kind of led you to the path where you're at today?
I jokingly tell people that I lost a bet. And that's kind of how I ended up in politics. Mom and dad were always politically minded, but love doing their civic duty, but never really overly involved in local politics or politics just in general. But growing up, they did have a real estate company, and mom served as a real estate agent for a time. Dad, he used to do some developing and that type of stuff for a couple of small neighborhoods, small subdivisions. And so growing up, had always just had an entrepreneurial spirit. And while that was not their primary focus of business and income, it was, something that they had always just kind of dabbled in. And so I, kind of came through real estate naturally, where a lot of, especially some of the younger real estate investors that are out there, and their parents are like, oh my gosh, what do you mean you're going to buy a rental property? What happens if they don't pay the rent? Then you've got 2 mortgages. What are you going to do? And, my parents, they were never fearful of that. And so I was never fearful of that. And just kind of had a natural upbringing with that entrepreneurial spirit and drive that just had some doors open and got into real estate, and which is a unique story in and of itself.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. So mom was an agent, and dad was a developer, building certain subdivisions and stuff.
Yeah. And then go ahead.
I was going to say, are you an only child?
I am not. So I'm one of 5, although I am by far the most brilliant of all of them, of course. So, no, each of my brothers and sisters would all tell you that they're the most brilliant and the most good looking. But, it's funny. My mom and dad, like I said, with real estate kind of being their, as we call it nowadays, the side hustle. They had a business that worked with the newspaper industry throughout the entire United States. And after college, I worked with them in sales for that, and traveled much of the Southeast. It was not uncommon at all during my time with them to wake up in one state with, having breakfast with a customer at one newspaper that morning, driving to another state that afternoon, and having a late lunch meeting, and then a dinner meeting at another state, and being 3 states in one day. That was very common. But being in the Southeast, that was also pretty easy to do. And the newspaper industry was good to us, but as we all know, it's kind of taken a little bit of a backseat to social media and internet. And yeah, so in
What was
2000, go ahead.
what was the business? Was it advertising or?
So they provided promotional materials for people that when you were wanting to get your subscription to the newspaper, and sometimes they would say, well, if you get a 1 year subscription to the Tennessean, we'll give you an umbrella that says the Tennessean, or we'll give you some, prize or knickknack or reward, or something to that effect. So they sold those. They sold the 50 cents. You drop the metal racks, you put 50 cents in, and you open up the door and pull out a newspaper. They sold those. And so yeah, we did that stuff all over the Southeast. And my territory was wide and a lot of fun.
Did your brothers and sisters work in the family business too, or just you?
My younger sister, yes. My older brothers and sisters were way smarter than me. They absolutely did not.
Got it. Okay. Cool. What do your siblings do?
So I've got one sibling that is retired. Actually, I've got two that are retired, and then, well, gosh, now that I think about it, I've got three now that are retired. So my younger sister Heather works in the family business still. That she helps with doing some of the promotional type stuff, and I'm full-time insurance agent and real estate.
Got it. All right, cool. So how'd you go from family business selling the promotional materials to newspapers to real estate?
Yeah. So in 2004, I had a friend of mine, his name is Steve, invite me to go to a Ron Legrand seminar. And so for anybody that is young enough to not have a clue who Ron Legrand was, he and Carlton Sheets were kind of the late night infomercial gurus, the guys that would say, hey, send me, $1,000 and I'll send you my VHS cassette tapes to teach you how to, buy distressed properties or foreclosure properties. And then if you send me another $5,000, I'll invite you to a boot camp where I'll teach you all the real secrets and that kind of stuff. And so he was coming to Nashville for a 2-day seminar. And my friend said, hey, he said, let's go to this thing and let's learn about real estate. And so I did. I was intrigued, went, and really more than anything, it was just a push to try to get you to do the $5,000 boot camp. And I said, yeah, you know what? I think I'm just clever enough to take everything that I've learned over the last, Saturday and Sunday and start implementing it. And so it was basically at that time, go get a copy of the local newspaper that advertises all the foreclosures, get those addresses for those people that are in foreclosure, and mail them a letter that says, I'd like to buy your house. And so that's exactly what I did. Hand wrote out about 50 or so and mailed them to everybody. And then all of a sudden one night my phone rings, and it's a number that I have no idea. That was back before spam was a thing. And had no idea who it was. And I answered, and it was this sweet lady that said, hey, I got your message, and says you want to buy my house. And I thought, oh crap, now what do I do? I couldn't believe that worked. And two, oh my gosh, I felt a little bit like the dog that was chasing the car. And then when he got to the stop sign, he didn't know what to do with the car. And so we ended up basically doing subject to on this one, got the lady out of foreclosure. She kept the mortgage in her name, gave us the deed to the house. And Steve and I ended up doing that deal, and then we fixed it up and we sold it. And I think we made about $8,000 or $10,000 on that one, and said, "Gosh, I really cannot believe that that works." Like that just blew my mind. And then we lost money on the next one or two cosmetic flips that we did, and we're like, "Oh, there's the reality. You know, you win some, you lose some." But it was just enough for us to look at and say, okay, we saw what we did right on the first one and how everything worked the way that it did, and we saw what we did wrong on the next two, and we didn't lose a whole lot of money. It was, you know, $3,000 $4,000, something like that. But it was enough for us to be able to say, this works. Let's do the things that do work, and let's don't do the things that don't. And he and I had a very successful run for a couple of years. And then in 2007, we split the partnership, still friends. We still go to dinner and go to a lot of the same meetups. Sometimes we go on vacation together with our families. And so very amicable split. And he wanted to kind of go in a little bit different direction. And I really wanted to just focus on cosmetic flips. And so that's exactly what my wife and I did. And in 2007, in the beginning of that, man, we could not do anything wrong. Real estate market was great. It was on fire. Mortgage rates were wonderful. We would go in and buy homes out of distress, buy them on the foreclosure auction steps, fix them up, rehab them, do a cosmetic lipstick, and put them back out on the market and make, you know, 10, 15, $20,000 and go skipping down the street and grab the next one. And then the market crashed. And when that crashed, we ended up getting stuck with about 5 mortgages. And that was really a kick in the pants.
Y'all had bought all these sub two?
No, all of them at the foreclosure auctions and courthouse steps.
Got it. Okay. So you and your partner, how were, you know, from 2004 to 2007, what was his name?
Steve.
Steve, sorry.
Yeah.
So you and Steve, 2004 to 2007, what were y'all doing mostly, and kind of what y'all accomplished together?
So a lot of what we had done was sub two. We did buy some things at the foreclosure auctions, but a lot of what we had done was subject to. And you know, sometimes we would go in and we would also do that, you know, where we would negotiate basically cash for keys. For people that don't know what that is, you know, if somebody's in distress, you come in and say, okay, well, you know, kind of what we call subject to today, but just a little different back then. We would come in and basically take over their payments. They would just sign the deed of the house over to us. And we would tell them, you know, after we get it fixed up and sell it, you know, we'll pay off your mortgage and you'll be out of it free and clear. We're just going to keep the profit. And at that point in time, the you know, the foreclosure rate was pretty high. And so, you know, that was pretty easy at that point in time to get people to do that. And it worked out because we had a level of, you know, morals and ethics about it, that we weren't going to just, you know, try and screw people out of their houses without paying off their mortgages and that kind of thing. And so we had a successful run. We did, you know, I don't know, 10 or 15 flips that were like that, very cosmetic, and over, you know, year and a half or two, and worked out great. And then it was just time for us to kind of go in two different directions.
Yeah. And what did Steve want to focus on?
Steve wanted to really focus on some of the larger flips, ones that needed a lot more than just the cosmetic rehabs. And I was just not geared for that at that time. I enjoyed just trying to get in and get out in 30 to 45 days. And he wanted to take on some bigger projects, and it was out of my comfort zone. And I just was not prepared mentally to do that quite yet. And so he went and focused on his, and I just kept doing the lipstick flips, the cosmetics, and it just kind of worked out until that market crashed.
Yeah. And when you did get started buying these sub two or cash for keys, especially if, you know, the sellers were in arrears, question that I have that some, you know, new viewers might have is, how'd you get the cash to start, right? You know, so did you have a savings built up? Did y'all borrow money to, you know, reinstate the loans with the banks and also pay for contractors and rehab, or what'd that look like?
So typically when, someone, if it was a foreclosure situation and they needed to be caught up, it usually was not it wasn't an enormous sum of money. We could go in and do short sales where, somebody, the mortgage company would say, okay, well, Mr. and Mrs. Smith owe $150,000 on the house and they're behind 25 grand on, payments and attorney fees and such. And so, we'll do a short sale. We'll sell you the house for $80,000 if you can go in and just take it. And so we did several that were that way. And to get the financing on that, it was not overly difficult to go to the bank and be able to pull that, because you're sitting in front of the bank and they say, well, that's a no-brainer. The house is worth 150 and you're picking it up for 80. And so, not a lot of risk there. And so that worked out well. My favorites were the ones where people just said, hey, just I'm behind $3,000 on my payments, and if you'll get that caught up and get me back current, then you can just have the house. Those were my favorites because you could just stroke a check out of that, or go borrow the money from somebody for $3,000 to do that. I mean, that was nothing. And then do the repairs. Of course, you pay cash for that, but at that time, you could get away with doing $10,000 to $15,000 worth of cosmetic touches to it, and it would look darn near brand new.
Mm-hmm. And did you have any horror stories with contractors as you were starting out flipping these houses? I'm sure that was a skill you had to learn, and connections you had to build up.
Actually, we did a lot of that ourselves, because if it's cosmetic, it doesn't take a whole lot of rocket science to go in and paint, trim, or rip out carpet, and then you just hire a flooring company to come in and put down hardwood, or hire a tile guy to come in and put in a tile backsplash, and to go in and go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever big box store and buy 5 or 6 ceiling fans that look nice and new, and pay an electrician at that time about 25, $30 an hour to come in and hang those. You could go in and pull all the light fixtures out and have them all back in brand new in less than a day, and only have about $400 in electrical labor. And so, from that standpoint, I used to go in and like change the light bars in the bathrooms and, change the ceiling fans and that kind of stuff. And then I realized that it was a much better use of my time to pay an electrician $30 an hour to come in and do it than to have me come in and do it, and it take 3 hours. So,
yeah. Okay. Got it. All right. And
yeah.
so you and your partner split in 2007.
Yes.
And then did you say that you and your wife started focusing on doing these cosmetic flips yourself?
We did. We had our daughter in 2007. She was our first child, and so started focusing on our own. And then, gosh, in 2008, the market just took an absolute nosedive, and we started having to tread water, which was really scary for us. Four properties that we were flipping. Well, one was a buy and hold, and it became a buy and hold, but really it was 4 that we were flipping, and then one was our personal mortgage. And with real estate being the primary source of income, it was scary. We absolutely were treading water. And then in 2009, my wife was pregnant with our son. She was due in March, and I told her, I said, gosh, I have a no quit mentality, but I really think we're going to have to look at facing bankruptcy. Like, this is just awful. I can't get these houses sold. We couldn't have gotten Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos approved to buy a house at that time. Like, the mortgages were just awful. And so people just really weren't buying anything. And so we looked at bankruptcy, and it just, I don't begrudge anybody that takes that as a choice. It's something that is personal to each and every person. But for us, I just really didn't want to go that route, and had a job offer come in Houston, Texas, of all places, to come down and basically do contracting work or sell contracting work, and be an intermediary between homeowners and insurance companies right after, can't remember, it might have been Hurricane Rita or one of those that had come through the Gulf at that time. And so anyway, I will never forget the pain in 2009 of pulling out of the driveway and looking in the rearview mirror and seeing my wife holding our brand new son and our daughter as I'm leaving to go to Texas for 6 weeks because it was the only place that I could find a job because I didn't want to file bankruptcy on these houses. And in doing that, man, it was a gut punch.
Yeah. And the houses, they're still sitting on the market while you went to Houston and we're doing some
Mhm.
contracting work.
Yep, they were. So went down to Houston and uh total God thing. I'm not even going to shy off of my faith in that, but had been in Houston less than 45 minutes and I get a phone call from a guy in Nashville and wanted to know if I could meet with him the following week. And I said, I'm going to be back for about 6 weeks. What you got? And he said, well, he said, I wanted to talk to you about, doing some work. Our company is gearing up to do this, and this. And I said, it's really funny that you call. He's because I'm literally moving to Texas right now to go do exactly what you're talking about. And there was a long pause there. And he said, let me call my boss. Hang tight. He's going to call you in 15 minutes. And so the boss called and I was sitting in the driveway of the office that I was going to work for. And he said, I'd like to go ahead and just offer you a job doing this. I need a sales manager to come in, help me set the company up, do this, and this, and basically do exactly what they're doing there because we just had some storm damage come through from a tornado or something in Middle Tennessee. And he said, we're doing the exact same thing here, and I need you. And so I told him, I said, look, I want to be a person of integrity. I gave these people my word that I was going to come down here and I was going to be here for, an indefinite period of time. And I need to honor that commitment. And he said, job's yours if you want it. I thought, wow. So stayed in Texas from Monday to Thursday and went into the office there on Thursday. And the manager that was there said, hey, I think his name was Kevin. I said, Kevin, I need to talk to you for a second. I said, I had this situation come up back home, but I gave you my word that I was going to be here. And he patted me on the shoulder and he said, brother, why are you still here? Go home to your family. And literally right there in his office, knelt down, put his hand on my shoulder, prayed, gave me a hug and said, go home. Yes, sir. That was the best firing I've ever had in my entire life. So
Yeah. That's very
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and I went home on that Thursday, actually spent the night in Dallas and then drove home the rest of the way on Friday and started work for the other company on Monday.
so they were doing the same exact thing, just different scenarios.
Yes.
Were you
Yeah.
applying for these types of jobs or these were the only
No.
types of jobs hiring?
No, it was the only thing that was hiring. But I had at that point I had done enough of my own like construction and cosmetic flip stuff and that kind of thing that I was familiar with the industry. And I wasn't while I was green to some things, I definitely was not a rookie at sales, and I knew how to swing a hammer and read a tape measure and knew which way the level needed to go, and I was not a stranger to working with homeowners and that kind of thing, and so for me it was actually a really natural transition, and so that allowed us to be able to have enough income to basically kind of tread water with the mortgages that we were holding. So we ended up doing basically a fire sale on two. We lost a little money on one and we broke even on the other, which was great. And then the other two, we could not sell. I just literally couldn't give them away. And so I kind of reached back to a little bit of that education that I'd gotten from that Ron Legrand seminar and put some renters in there basically on a rent to own type of situation or a lease purchase, and ended up just kind of holding and treading water, as it were. And then after about 3 or 4 years of that, and then dealing with people that say, well, they're going to move out, and then or people that we ended up having to evict and that kind of thing, and just being really upside down. I told my wife again, I said, look, I said, we just cannot seem to get ahead. We just are not, we're not getting ahead. And I can't seem to get rid of these two houses because we're way upside down on them. And so maybe we just need to consider bankruptcy again. And so that was about 2014 or 2015 at that time. I'd been mayor for about 3 years because I got elected in 2012, and uh, was talking to mom and dad about it, and they said, you need to reach out to our family friend. His name is Johnny Lindahl. Johnny's an amazing person, incredibly smart when it comes to just business and real estate in general. And they said, go have lunch with Johnny and just pick his brain. So I've known Johnny ever since I was little, and called him up, and I call him Pops, and I said, hey Pops, I want to see if we can have lunch. I've got a little bit of a situation, and I'm in a bind, and I need to vent and need somebody's wisdom. And so anyway, we met and had lunch, and literally after about a 4-hour lunch, we rolled into this little Italian restaurant at 11 a.m. And at 2 o'clock, the owner of the restaurant, who knew Johnny, said, listen, I'm shutting down until dinner. I'll be in the back if you need me. Everybody else is leaving. You guys just show yourselves out. Here's a pitcher of tea. Here's a pitcher of water. Y'all take your time. And so that restaurant, man, it had these awesome paper tablecloths. And I had brought all of my notes, and he had brought his calculator and a pen and a pencil and a highlighter, and we had written stuff all over this tablecloth. And I'm not kidding, man, Alex. It looked like an algebra equation gone wrong, dude. Notes everywhere. We would run out of space. We'd pick our plates up and slide the paper around and put our plates back down to, be able to write on a clean section. And he looked at me at the end of that lunch, and he said, listen, he said, you've gotten back into flipping houses. You're still treading water. You're doing these cosmetic flips, but you're only making $10,000 or $15,000 a piece. He said, you've created a job for yourself, but what happens if you stop flipping houses? You've lost your income, and you need to get focused on buy and hold. And I said, man, evidently you didn't listen to all of my heartburn over the last 3 hours, because I'm trying to get rid of the last two buy and holds that I've been stuck with since 2007, 2008. Why in the world would I want to look at getting into more? And he said, wrong mindset. You need to get to 10 doors as quickly as possible. And when you do, everything will change. And I followed his principle that he laid out, and I've coined it the power of 10. And man, it works amazingly.
Yeah, buying 10 rentals, having 10, and making sure that those cover, any losses that may come, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So, the everything just shifts, when you get to that point. And I'll never forget, man, going home and talking to my wife about it. And I said, can you believe Johnny wants us to buy 10 rental properties instead of flipping these? He wants us to buy 10. I just don't know that I want to do that. And she said, well, there's a reason why he has, right at 150 doors and is as successful as he is. And it's not because he's doing it wrong. So I don't really want to have more rentals either, but maybe we should give it a try. And so we started working through the MLS, and picked up a triplex over in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Nashville. And then had reached out to a wholesaler that I'd gotten introduced to, which I didn't know what that was at the time until I had a friend of mine named Chris say, met this lady, and she, kind of connects the dots between people. And so, she does this thing called wholesaling, and it's all about real estate, and you should call her. And so she found me 2 houses to buy at $20,000 a piece. And then found another project, and we got to 10 doors, and literally just exactly the way that Johnny said, as soon as we got to 10 doors, it was like the pressure was completely off. Somebody moved out of one. I didn't care, because the other 9 were paying all of the mortgage and the expenses, and somebody moved out of one, and we had to replace the carpet in the other one. Didn't matter, because we had, a rainy day fund set aside. And it literally, that getting to 10 doors as quickly as possible changed everything for us.
And you did that from 2015 to when you hit 10 doors.
So 2015 to really about 2016. And so from 2016 until 2000, mid 2017, hit 10 doors and then hit 15 doors. And then it like sure enough, just exactly the way that he said, it just worked. The math just worked.
Yeah. And how many doors do you have now?
So right now, my wife and I have, I think 33 or 34 doors. We have one subject to deal that we're closing on at the end of this month, and we're getting ready to put our second mobile home park under contract. Our family friend, he and his wife, his name is Chris. So Chris and Chrissy are partnered with us on 9 or 10 doors, I believe it is. And we've done them all kinds of different ways, and I absolutely I just love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanna dive into the mobile home parks and kind of your current portfolio here in a little bit.
Yeah,
I got a lot of questions over everything we just talked about, if that's all right.
nice. Yeah,
So
please jump in.
first of all, you
And sorry
mentioned
for the background noise. We're in a little bit of a flight pattern today for Fort Campbell's doing some maneuvering and stuff. So
we
God
can't
bless
hear
the
any
USA.
we can't hear anything but your voice, so you're good.
That's perfect.
So you mentioned the God moment,
Yes.
Houston, Texas,
Yes.
getting the job back in Tennessee.
Yes.
I was just kind of curious, I'm sure looking back, it's kind of easy to attribute that to your relationship with God and kind of, God providing that opportunity. But I was just kind of curious in that moment when you were facing bankruptcy, and decided, we're not going to go that route. I got to figure something out for us. And you make the move to Houston. Were you
Mhm.
kind of seeking, God to come in and help you out there? Or do you feel like God just came in and providing a solution?
You know, looking back on it, it's easy to say that I was looking for God to provide a solution. Um, I think a lot of it honestly goes back to having a certain level of tenacity, or just a certain level of just no quit mentality. And there's a lot of people on social media that throw that stuff around now. I've got a little age to me, which is why the gray hair is coming through here on the sides and in the chin a little. And it's I try to say that with all humility, that it was truly the upbringing that I had. Mom and dad were awesome at just kind of instilling that level of fight and grit in us and our my brothers and sisters. That I just, oh man, I was just determined not to quit. My wife's amazing. She had a much different upbringing than I did, with a little more grit. And so it was easy to have her standing, right beside me, and sometimes pushing me from behind, saying, "Nope, we're not quitting. Nope, we're not quitting." And so I'm a firm believer that even if you are not a Christian, or even if you are not a person that believes in a higher power, I believe that you get rewarded from your efforts. I don't necessarily believe in luck. I believe you create your own. And so in being in the right place at the right time and being open to opportunity, if I had never taken that leap of faith to drive out of the driveway, looking in the rearview mirror to my wife and kids as I'm headed to Texas, I would have never had that blessing 4 days later of getting that opportunity to come back and do what I'm doing now. And so I look at a lot of the struggles and things that we've gone through, and they all will build on each other with preparing you for whatever the next thing is that life throws at you. Because man, let's be honest, sometimes life sucks, and sometimes life's just not fair. But what are you going to do? Get in the fetal position and suck your thumb? You can, but I'm not. I'm just not wired that way.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get the wind kicked out of me, and you're doing what you do, because sometimes you've gotten the wind kicked out of you, yet you persevere. I'm sure you've had people tell you, oh my gosh, why would you start a podcast? Why would you get into real estate? Why, because, I have a no quit mentality. And sometimes, man, you just got to bulldoze your way through.
Hey, this is Alex, and I'm the co-owner of TRE. Since the beginning of time, real estate has created more millionaires than any other investment, and I want to get you involved in a community that will help you achieve your goals within real estate investing. I know you don't have the knowledge, connections, or resources to start investing today. Most people spin their wheels over and over and over without ever actually taking any action to successfully start investing. That's why I want to get you involved in our community so that you can get the hands-on support, training, and meet the other members that you can start doing deals with in order to start investing in real estate. You need to get in the room with the right people who can help you achieve your goals and get the hands-on support and one-on-one training that you need in order to start investing. Just click on the link in the description to join the entrepreneur community today.
Well, most people still to this day still don't understand everything that I do, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Well, I was just curious. I'm glad you touched on that because in my life and thinking back on a few different instances, where God has come in a big way. When I was really in a time of need, they came in moments of surrender, right? Not so much a surrender of like, hey, I'm gonna like you talked about, lay in the fetal position and suck my thumb here, but more so, whatever your plan is, I'm gonna let go of my plan here and what I'm trying to make happen and just follow wherever you lead me. And
that's right.
Right around the corner is, something better than I could have ever expected.
I love that.
So I was just kind of curious in your instance there. And then you were talking about the 4 properties you bought that you couldn't sell 2008.
Yes.
Fire sold 2 of them. The 2 you were still holding on to. In 2014, you were saying that y'all were still negative on the equities there. Is that correct?
That is correct. And so the real estate market had shifted a little in Tennessee and it had actually kind of gotten favorable again. And so we had started purchasing properties again to do the lipstick flips. Margins were a little tighter on a lot of the things that we were doing, but they were just as fast. You could buy the house hypothetically on, the first of the month, have it, finished and ready to and back on the MLS by the 30th, and typically have a contract within 2 weeks, and then they're closing in another 30 days after that. So you could literally, make $10,000 to $15,000 every, 8 weeks or so. Which, for somebody that had I guess you could say the full-time part-time job of mayor back here on the sign, that fit my lifestyle great because I could do all of the things that I needed to do with that, go to city meetings, council meetings, meeting with, employees or staff or, department heads, and doing, all the things that come with being the mayor of a small community or a small city, and still be able to go and meet contractors and that kind of stuff in the afternoons and make sure projects are rolling and that type of stuff. And so it really did work out very, very nicely. But just like what Johnny said, the problem is that if we had another seismic shift like we did in 2007, 2008, and I wasn't able to flip houses anymore, what am I going to do for income?
Right.
I said, you really need to focus on getting that to 10 doors. And so of the 2 houses that we had held since that 07-08 crash, we ended up selling one of them. That one was tough. We had to borrow some money from a family member because the person that was in it absolutely trashed it. We did an eviction. It was a large house. It was about 4,000 square feet, 3 stories. And I knew better than to buy it when I bought it, but my eyes were bigger than my stomach, as the old saying goes. And so I ended up buying it when I shouldn't have, and it really cost me. But the lessons I learned on that one were almost priceless, I'll say. And we ended up doing about a $50,000 or $60,000 reno on that one, just to get it to the point to where we could market it and sell it. And when we sold it, we ended up losing. We broke even on paper, but that does not count, you know, the $20,000 or $22,000 that we missed in rent from the person having to be evicted versus plus the time that it was off the market. I want to tell you that's the best $22,000 I've ever lost, man, because I am so glad to have that one off my debt sheet.
Yeah.
Being a believer, on the last one that we had been holding since 2007, 2008, had a Hispanic family come to me and say, you know, hey, we're looking to buy a house, but you know, we make good money, but we don't have all of the credentials to be able to apply for a conventional mortgage. We have state of Tennessee driver's licenses, we have social security numbers, but you know, we just don't have everything that the bank wants. And we really like this house. It's close to some friends of ours. Would you be interested in just selling it to us on a lease purchase? And I thought, yes, absolutely. How much do you want to put down? And they said, oh, I don't know, was $15,000 enough? Yes, yes, it is. Would you like to sign this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning? I'll bring the coffee. So they literally they wanted it as is. So they bought that house on paper from us in 2016. They've been living there ever since, and I can count on 4 fingers since 2016 how many times I've actually been to that house.
Yeah.
Their payments are set up from the bank on auto draft. They never miss. They cut the yard. If the refrigerator goes out, it's their refrigerator, not mine. You know, they want to go in and repaint the bedrooms. I don't care because it's their bedrooms, not mine. They literally, I'm just the mortgage on it, and they are making all the payments, and they want to change out the hardwoods and put in brand new hardwoods. I don't care. Go for it. You know, they're paying for it. So,
that's
and
great.
it works out amazingly well.
Yeah. Well, good. And congrats on that one.
Thank you.
I do want to talk about you losing a bet and becoming mayor. So tell me about this bet, you know, becoming mayor and kind of what that was like.
Yeah. So in Christmas of 2012, was at a Chamber of Commerce Christmas party and had 2 different people that don't really know each other or run in the same circles come up to me and ask, hey, have you ever thought about running for mayor for Pleasant View, Tennessee? And I thought, no. No, I spent 4 years in city council and I'm good. I don't need to be mayor. And they said, well, you know, you really ought to think about it. Then about another week and a half later, I had another friend again who did not run in that same circle come up to me and he said, have you ever thought about running for mayor for Pleasant View? And I thought, okay, again, being a believer, maybe God's trying to get my attention because you got 3 different people that have asked me in 2 different weeks, and none of those 3 people really know each other. And so I thought, okay, did some digging, looked into it, talked to my wife about it. We prayed over it and said, okay, you know what? We're going to make a run at this, and I'm going to run like I'm running for the U.S. Senate, man. I'm going to give it everything I've got, and put together some amazing volunteers, and you know, said, you know what? God makes it happen. If this is where he wants me, great, but I'm going to work my tail off to get there. I'm going to, as we talked about a minute ago, I'm going to create my own luck and through hard work and diligence. And sure enough, got elected in 2012 and then got reelected in 2016. And then 2020 came around and I said, you know, I need to just step back and focus really on the insurance, or not the insurance, the real estate that we're doing and we're creating. Because at that point we had just put a mobile home park under contract. And I said, I'm not going to run for a 3rd term. I'm just going to focus on the real estate at this time. And man, it was great. There was, you know, some days that were full of heartache and why am I doing this again? Because that job, being mayor for a small city outside of Nashville, pays a whopping $1,000 a month. And so you definitely are not doing it because you want to get rich, and you're not doing it because you're trying to be famous. You're doing it because you really do love your community. But it was time after 8 years of that for me to step back and truly just focus on the real estate.
Yeah. You think you'll ever go for politics again?
I don't know. I'm the current chairman for one of our local political parties here in our county, and we just had a great sellout event this past weekend. U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn came in and was a keynote speaker. Our U.S. Congressman Mark Green was a keynote speaker. I enjoy politics for the most part anyway. I enjoy being able to put together events like that and working with people to try to make things happen. So I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes in the life of politics, you never say never.
Yeah. And so you were on city council for how long?
On city council for 4 years, vice mayor for 3 of those, and then an additional 8 years as mayor. So a total of 12 years.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to connect you with Matt. He'll love to talk to you about those things.
I would love to.
I have zero interest to be in politics and will never be in politics, but Matt, he has a desire to make it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's not for everybody, and there's days that I still beat my head against the wall and say, gosh, why did I do that again? But I enjoyed my time as mayor. I felt very blessed to be given that opportunity to lead our city and feel like we did some amazing things. But after 8 years, being one that believes in self-imposing term limits, I was happy to step back and give somebody else a shot.
Yeah. Well, good. And then you went and focused solely on real estate. And so let's dive into the Pops conversation. So Pops, he had 150 rentals when he was talking to you about this, right?
Yes.
And prior to this, why do you think you didn't have any desire to have any buy and holds?
Honestly, because of the 0708 and just the bad taste that it had left with having those two that we just could not get rid of, the two that we couldn't sell, and putting renters in those and just constantly dealing with, oh, well, they're late again. And, oh, well, this one's doing a job transition. And so, they're going to be, 6 weeks for making their next, payment because, they're quitting the one job and they've got a transition time to the other one, or, my dog ate my homework and all of the other excuses that renters will give you. And I just was done. I absolutely was just over the excuses and all of the BS that went along with that. And I was just over it, absolutely over it. And then when, he sat down with me and he showed me the math, he said, yeah, you're going to get some of that. You're going to get the knuckleheads that, are going to be late on their payment every other month. And you're going to get the knuckleheads that, would try and give you every excuse in the world. And they want you to believe the, sob stories about, their aunt died and their mom died and their uncle died and the dog died and the babysitter's great nephew died. And, you just get all of that stuff. But what you also get once you get to 10 doors is you also get pretty adept at being able to cut through the BS and know when to, as I'll call it, drop the hammer on somebody versus when to exercise patience. And so I've got a couple of people that are in our one of our units that they're long-term. They're late about once every 4 to 6 months, but they will always call ahead of time and say, hey, just want to let you know, we've got this hiccup coming. The car broke down and we had to replace the water pump. And the only way I can get to work to make the rent is to replace the water pump on the car. I'm letting you know ahead of time. And so this is how I'm going to get caught up. I'm going to send you this much money on this day, this much money on this day, this much money on this day, plus the late fee. And by this date, we'll be caught back up and running. And for those that will take that initiative to lay out that plan ahead of time and say, hey, just, letting you know this is what's going on, man, I'll work with you. I'll absolutely be patient. I will absolutely do that. But for the ones that, they're late and they won't pick up the phone, but yet, they've got a box sitting outside the back door that's got a brand new 60-inch, TV box sitting outside the back door that they just bought, and, that kind of thing. I have no patience for you, and I'll drop the hammer in a heartbeat.
Right. And are you your own property manager?
I am on everything but the mobile home park. And so as I tell people, especially when they're starting out, to be your own property manager is a really good thing because, one, it kind of gets you adept to being able to navigate through the people that are taking care of your property versus not, navigating through the ones that are going to be good tenants versus bad, gets you used to knowing your property inside and out. Because if you've got somebody in there and they're talking about, there's an issue with the toilet, and you get that 3 times in 3 months, a property manager, if you don't have that skill set or you don't have that experience, a property manager, while they can come in and take care of those things, it's going to cost you a lot more, because maybe, the plumber is going to come in and say, well, we got to pull the toilet. We need to pull up all of the pipe underground, and we got to do this, this, and this, where, if you've got that experience behind you, maybe, okay, well, it's, this one, it's got this particular situation. And so if you tweak it here, tweak it there, you can do that and save a lot of money. I had a plumber that I guess he had thought that I was all shirt and tie because he had met me after one of my city council meeting. And he was trying to tell me about, this, septic job that he needed to do. And it was going to be to pump the septic tank. And it was going to be, I don't know, $1,200 or $1,500. And I just started laughing, and I said, I don't think so. And he said, oh yeah, that's what it always runs. And so because I had been my own property manager, I was able to send him the bill from 3 other times where I'd gotten it done for $300 a piece. And so he ended up really fussing about it and had to go back and adjust his bill down to $300. He didn't like it, but he thought I might be the goose with the golden egg. And I just told him, I said, no, but if you don't have that experience, maybe you wouldn't know any better, and you just write a check for $1,200 because you think that's what it costs to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, the property managers need to be managed. So I think it is invaluable to have that experience and know, how you should properly manage your property manager. Yes. I mean, there, no one's out there is perfect and not, putting down property managers at all, but it's going to be hard to find somebody who 100% meets your expectations. But it is good to have that experience. And I mean, on our end, we want to, with our property managers, control the maintenance, control what we're raising rents to, control the renewals, control vacancy as much as we possibly can, but have monthly meetings with them where we're not micromanaging. However, we have our expectations. We expect that you meet our expectations, and we want to keep these things low, because we got 100 doors, and it's very easy to, overspend 30 grand a month on maintenance when, it wasn't necessary to do so.
And then it kills your bottom line. And exactly what you said, you got to manage the manager. And we went through that on one of our groups of properties that we have. And I did not do a good job of managing the manager. And one of the properties went vacant, and then the next one went vacant, and then the next one went vacant. And so I started calling and raising red flags. And they're like, oh, well, the market's just soft right now. And, there's an awful lot of rentals in this particular area. And so there's just, it's too much supply and not enough demand. Well, what I came to find out after I lost the 4th tenant is that it actually ended up being an issue with the property manager, where they were just not nice people. And so tenants were just either not renewing, or they would just, 6 months in, they'd say, I'm out. I'm not dealing with, that kind of negativity. And so I had to go into real scramble mode after I fired that property manager, because I had 4 doors that were down. But fortunately, having 40 plus doors to work with, while I'm not going to Italy next week because I'm down 4 doors, at the same time, I'm also not hiding under a bridge because I'm worried about the mortgage company calling. So it truly, there is power in those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The mobile home parks, how big is the one that y'all own right now?
So the one that we have right now is 16 units, and the one that we are going under contract hopefully today on is 12 units. And I absolutely, being a fan of Bigger Pockets, which some people that have watched your podcast or listened to your podcast, I know they've heard of Bigger Pockets and Brandon Turner. So Brandon Turner, I'd gotten there for a while to where I was just, instead of listening to my 80s hair metal, because I love, like, for people that are watching this on YouTube, back there somewhere is my Def Leppard guitar and my, hard rock gold albums over here and that kind of stuff. I love to listen to music when I'm in the gym. And then I'd started just listening to podcasts from like Bigger Pockets and other podcasts. And so anyway, Brandon Turner was talking one time, and about mobile home parks, and he was going to start looking into mobile home parks. And I thought, good grief, why in the world would anybody want to look into that? Like, are you kidding me? That's an asset class that nobody wants. And then I'll listen to one or two other episodes, and then I'll listen to a couple of people that had podcasts about mobile home parks. And I thought, holy crap, I cannot believe that I've been missing out on this all along. And so ended up purchasing a mobile home park about an hour and a half or 2 hours from Nashville. And absolutely was in over my head, but I was willing to learn, and did a lot of that work myself, learned a lot about mobile home parks, what to look for, what not to, like red flags and that kind of thing that you have to watch out for. And I'm going to tell you, man, small mobile home parks are great. They are a cash cow.
Yeah, they are. We own a 14 unit in South Austin, and
Nice.
it's my favorite property we own.
Right?
Zero headache whatsoever. No
It,
calls, rent's paid on time every
I
time.
know, it's crazy. It's
No
crazy.
maintenance, no issues.
There's something about the mentality of people that are living in a mobile home that is completely different from somebody that's living in a duplex or a small apartment unit or even a larger apartment unit. If the toilet gets clogged in a large apartment unit that you may own, they're calling the maintenance people. The toilet gets clogged in a duplex, they're calling you or the property manager. Man, at the mobile home park, toilet gets clogged over there, they just go to Walmart and buy a plunger. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
there. It's a completely different mindset, where I think because it's what it's called, a mobile home, being home being the operative word, but also because they don't necessarily have neighbors that are right on the other side of the wall from them, that kind of thing. They feel a particular level of ownership. And exact same thing, probably 5 to 1, I get phone calls for maintenance issues at other brick and mortar units versus what I get at my mobile home park.
Yeah. Do y'all own the homes at your park?
We own the homes and the pads. Yes.
Okay. So with ours, we did own the homes the
Mm-hmm.
day we bought them, and we gave them away because we didn't want
Nice.
to. We did not want to
Nice.
own the home. So that's one reason why we don't get the maintenance calls, is because we don't own the homes.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
we just rent out the lot. But they're special. I mean, they're great, especially right now. If we can, I would love to buy a lot more.
Yeah.
All over. If we can find some in Tennessee or wherever. I mean, right now, if we can get.
Oh no, there's none in Tennessee. You can't buy any here. They're
Okay,
all gone. So
I'll write that down. But if we can find some right now, with interest rates being where they're at some higher cap rates, and hold on to them, fix up the
Yeah.
parks and good locations, it's really, one of the asset classes we're always looking for.
So you had a guest on your show, and I, again, being in the gym this morning, was listening to this episode where he was calling it, was it a soft flip
Slow
or
flip.
slow flip? Thank you, slow flip.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking about this mobile home park that we're hopefully going under contract today. And that thing's 12 doors. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, so it's 12 doors and it's priced right. And I'm going to be in this thing for somewhere in the neighborhood of about $30,000 to $32,000 a door. How can I make that work and do it using this slow flip method? And for anybody that is listening to this or watching this, if you have not listened to that episode of the real estate podcast, go back and listen to that episode. That episode is fantastic. Listen, I've been doing this now for 18 or 19 years, I guess it is, and doing the slow flip method, like what he has talked about, I'd never heard of or never really wrapped my brain around. And I'll tell you, to be honest, the reason why that really stuck out to me is the thought of owning those assets for 5 years. And then after that, selling it on paper for a longer term, but having it paid off and owning that, free and clear in 5 years, man, that is hugely sexy, especially in the mobile home space, because you they're gonna be in that mobile home, but they still have to have a place to park it, or it still has to have a place to sit. So you still get the benefit, even if they pay you out in 8 years or 10 years, you get the benefit of still getting lot rent.
Yeah.
Man, what a beautiful concept. And I tell people all the time, there's folks out there that are a lot younger than me that have, hundreds of doors or even thousands of doors, or the Grant Cardones of the world that own, tens of thousands of doors. The thing I love about our story is we've been very methodical. We haven't gone in and just tried to, latch on to syndications and, stuff where it's, 500 doors of this and I own like 1/10 of that or whatever. We've just been very slow and methodical about building the asset, building the portfolio. And so my goal, I'll be 52 in a couple of weeks. My goal is in the next 5 years to be able to have something between 100 and 150 doors. We're almost at 50 now between what my wife and I have, plus our partners on a couple with Chris and Chrissy. I want to be able to be at something between 100 and 150 doors, sell off half of the portfolio in 5 to 6 years, use the equity from that to pay off the other half of the portfolio, and then just live comfortably on those properties that we own free and clear, and just kind of ride off into the sunset. Because
What are
I
you
figure,
gonna do?
of course, I'll probably say that I'm retired for about 4 weeks, and then I'll be bored out of my mind, and I'll
Yeah.
probably get right back into real estate and look for more properties to pick up. But in the grand scheme of things, if you do that and you do it right, you could probably end up with something in the neighborhood of free and clear income, $20,000 to $30,000 a month. And a person can live pretty darn good if all of their debt is covered and they don't have, Lamborghini payments and that kind of thing. A person can live pretty darn good to $20,000 to $30,000 a month, free and
Oh yeah,
clear.
easy.
Yeah. So, at least I'll put it this way. I'd love an opportunity to fail at that. So, it's just one of those things that I, I don't know what I would do. I probably would still, tinker around in real estate some and,
You're
wait
probably
for
gonna go
little
run for
deals,
president or something.
or maybe run for president, or, something to that effect. I guess, if I wanted to take a pay cut, I guess I could do that. But it's, at that point, a person, like I said, can live pretty darn good on that kind of income. It's a different level of stress, and at that point you stress about, what am I going to have for breakfast, so much as, getting up and having breakfast at 5 a.m. because I've got meetings at 6 and I've got this at 7 and I got to get the kids to school by 8 and I've got all of these things going on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I would probably still do real estate, but instead of chasing it so hard to try and get deals and create things to happen, I would probably just wait for stuff to drop in my lap.
Yep. So it's all about freedom. I mean, I think that's a really good goal, and I think that it's more than possible. And with the slow flip method, I think you should own the dirt, but slow flip out the units to the
I love that.
own the dirt, keep getting your rent, but slow flip out, seller finance the mobile homes back to the tenants if they have an interest in buying them.
And a lot of them do. Yeah. So I agree completely.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they want to, especially if they're provided an opportunity. A lot of people, just like that family that bought your deal from you, seller finance. A lot of people aren't provided the opportunity, to own that, or they think that it's not possible for them. And so, creating those opportunities for other people, not only is it really cool, but they're pretty grateful for it as well.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I like it. That was gonna be my next question, was what's your goal? What's the future
Nice.
hold? And so you and your wife getting to 100, 150 doors over the next 5 years. You think it's gonna be through mobile home parks or apartment complexes?
I think it's going to be through kind of a collection of all of it. The one thing that I will say that kind of comes with a little bit of age is you just get a little more seasoned and you're a little more open to whatever deals come your way. Again, as a believer, I feel like that a lot of times, we create our own luck, but at the same time, we have to be open to whatever, God puts in your path. And so, in looking at that, if it happens to be through, some mixture of buy and hold duplexes, single family homes, if it's, 2 or 3 more small mobile home parks, a small apartment complex that's 20 or 30 or 40 doors, whatever it is, or however that looks, storage units or what have you, I'm open to it. I think the one thing that is a benefit of having done so many different things, from mobile home parks and single family flips and single family buy and holds, and small duplexes and quads and triplexes and all of the different things that I've done, subject to, and everything else. I think that you get a certain amount of education to that, but I think there also comes, the blessing to it is a certain amount of creativity, of being able to have a deal put in front of you and say, okay, this is a deal that I'm interested in. How can I structure it to take this down? What do I need to do to make this happen? And then you've got that experience that you can reach back on. But, now also, with awesome podcasts like yours, people that don't have a lot of experience have the ability to come in and listen to the shows like the one that we're doing now, to say, oh, wow, I didn't know that you could do something this way. Just like the one that I listened to, of y'all from this morning in the gym, talking about the slow flip. I've been doing this for, 18 or 19 years, and that is a concept that I had not really heard put quite the way that he did. And I've been doing this a while. Man,
Mhm.
that's brilliant. And so I love that, even after doing this as long as I have, that I'm still open-minded enough to say, there's somebody that's doing it different. That's an angle that I might be able to use on this thing I'm getting ready to put under contract now. How can I apply what's making him successful and put it over here in my life and my portfolio to make us successful? I tell people all the time, it's not that I am the sharpest guy out there. As the saying goes in the South, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. But I absolutely know how to listen to people that are smarter than me, and to do what they say do, just like Pops did. And he said, get the 10 doors as quickly as possible. I know how to do what I'm told. I know how to follow instruction and not try to recreate the wheel, and just find that method, latch on, and just duplicates the successes that other people have had. And yeah, I have to swallow some pride and arrogance sometimes. Say, oh no, I would never do it this way or that way. But I have to swallow that down and say, well, obviously it's working for them. Maybe I need to take a look at it, and applying part of that to me.
Mhm. Yep, I agree with you. I mean, learn from experience all the time over here, and I'm always
Mhm.
seeking to learn something new every single day. And I don't think that that'll ever stop.
That's awesome. I love it.
What would be your advice for listeners right now who are maybe looking to get started investing in real estate? They haven't bought their first deal, and they're just about to jump in. What's your advice to those out there looking to accomplish what you've accomplished?
Take action, man. Just take action. Be persistent. If it I meet people all the time that, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. Take action. If you seriously don't know where to begin, take action. Go back and listen to 5 or 10 episodes of this podcast. Take action and find local Facebook groups that are in your area all over the United States, that have local meetups that I promise are within an hour drive of you. Go and take action. Put yourself in the same room with those people, and just sit in the back of the room with a notepad and a pen, and just listen. Just take notes. Listen to podcasts like this. Watch YouTube, stuff like this one. Um, Go in and get a book. If you don't like to read or don't have time to read, but you spend 45 minutes in the car every day going back and forth to work, get a $10 subscription to Audible, or whatever Audible costs, $10 or $5 or whatever it is, and get some books on real estate, and just take action. Because I promise, if you start going to meetups and you start listening to podcasts and you start watching some stuff on YouTube, and then you start following some people on Instagram that are doing things like you guys are, you will eventually get comfortable enough to start putting yourself into the mix on deals and say, hey, look, I'm ready to start analyzing properties, or I'm ready to start doing, doing more with my free time, because I want to change my family's outcome. I want to change our future. I don't want to be stuck in the job that I'm in right now for the next 25 years and then hope that my 401k doesn't become a 201k after the government screws it up. So just take action. Please take action.
Take action. Create your own luck.
Create your own luck.
All right. And where can people get a hold of you if they have a deal in Tennessee or anywhere else? How can people reach out to you? Where can they find you?
Absolutely, man. Instagram is great. You can look me up at the Flippin Mayor, and that's FLIPPIN with no G, because we're redneck enough that we don't always have to put the G on there. So the Flippin Mayor on Instagram, or I'm not bashful, I'll give out my phone number here on the podcast. It's 615-336-3401. Call me or text me. I'm happy to do that. It's funny, I actually had somebody from New York shoot me a text a couple of weeks ago. It's just like, hey man, listen to your show, you said to send you a text, and so I just wanted to say hi and thanks. I picked up some great nuggets from you. I love getting that, man. And I've communicated with them a couple of times, just touching base with them, and hey, how's your journey going? Somebody took the time to really sit me down and go through all this over that 4-hour lunch. And he even bought my lunch that day. And so I figure the least I can do is shows like this where I help pay it forward.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on today. We appreciate your time, Mayor, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hey, God bless. You guys go be amazing today.
All right. Thank you.